welcome to a special Inverness Brewing Excursion episode of
Brutal Battle. So we went to a new brewery for us. I don't think it's like a new brewery. I think it's been around for a few years, but it's a farm brewery because for people who may not know about this, in Maryland at least, and I know some other states, there are farm breweries, literally farms that are able to operate as farms, but also operate as breweries, as like an extra way for farms to bring in income, because obviously beer is hot right now. So we've been to a few farm breweries in our lifetime in Maryland, and this is just another one to add to our list. And we were pretty pleasantly, I should say. We were pretty...
We were present.
We were very present. We were pretty pleasantly surprised with the beer offerings. Not only the beer offerings, actually, but the layout of the place is very interesting and fun. Yeah. So we have 3 beers. I know we've said going forward we're going to do 2 beers per episode, but we're doing 3 for this because their cans are 12 ounce, so it's a lot less, it's a lot easier to do, and we kind of wanted a little bit of a range. So, yeah, we're going to do 3, and obviously we'll talk about our experience there. And I'm going to say up front, we will go back. It was fun. The beer was good. We will go back. So let's start with our first beer. This is Lot 54. It's a blonde ale, and it is 4.5% alcohol, and like I said, 12 ounces. And Inverness Brewing's out of Monkton, Maryland, and this says crop to keg. Farm brewed, store cold, drink fresh, crop to keg. All right. And this is not one of the beers that we tried while we were there. We did 2 samplers while we were there, and we will read you the information on, or tell you through what we checked into on Untappd, what we tried while we were there. So it would be 8 beers that we tried while we were there, and one of these beers we're doing on the podcast we tried while we were there.
All the ones we're doing on pod are low ABV.
Yes, which excites me. Well, and that's the thing. They had a good amount of low ABV beers on tap, which excellent. So this looks very clear.
Very yellow.
Very yellow, orangish yellow, very clear beer, which I'm a fan of.
It smells like so clean and crisp.
Ooh, it does. It's really bready, too.
It's bready, and a lot of sweetness. I'm getting like a lot of honey. Yeah,
bready, honey, a little bit of a hay note to it. There's a little bit of an orange in there, very slight orange.
I'm getting a little floral, too.
Yeah, I could see a small floral note.
Smells good.
Yeah, it does smell really, really good. It doesn't smell like a typical blonde. It smells like a little bit more complex than a typical blonde is. But it smells very nice. I'm very excited to get into this.
Ooh. Tastes exactly like you think, like what you smell is what you get.
There's a little bit of a grain finish, like a grain flavor finish to it, which I'm actually enjoying on this beer. There's more of a bitterness to it than you would think based off the nose. I was going to say, too.
It's it gives you a lot of different flavors.
Plenty of the honey, plenty of that hay that we were talking about. Do you get that orange on there?
Not really. I got it more in the nose.
A lot of that graininess on the finish. And a lot of the times I don't like it in beers, but with this beer it actually works pretty well. As I continue to sip it, the bitterness is a little bit more than I would ideally want, but it's still good.
Oh, I don't mind it at all, and I normally don't like a lot of bitterness. I think it's well balanced.
I'm into it.
I really like it.
Yeah, it is good. It's good. It's a nice beer. So do you want to talk about kind of our experience when we first showed up at Inverness?
Sure. Well, we went there we're recording in April. April is Occupational Therapy Month. I'm an occupational therapist. So we were supposed to meet up with my coworkers as like Happy OT Month celebration. But we went on a rather chilly day.
Yeah.
And Inverness is kind of known for like their outside area, because I guess a lot of people in the spring and summer months go with like blankets and chairs and just sit out on the lawn and enjoy the farmland. So we're still outdoor people because of COVID. So we're still only enjoying places outside. So we were like, we're going to go. We're just going to bundle up. And it's literally in the middle of the farmlands.
Yeah, definitely. And from what we were told, someone else who we met up with there who has been to Inverness before said that when it's warmer, it's like packed. Like you see people just everywhere on the grass, just like, chairs and blankets and just like having a good time. So yeah.
And they usually have the live music that they had was inside the barn. Mm-hmm. But I guess when it's nice out, they're outside on the patio, which is where we were.
Yeah, and they'll like open up the doors to this big barn. So that leads to another thing, like the setup of it. They have 3 bars there, and apparently they don't have the same beers at every one of their bars. So you can kind of like bar hop while you're on the property, which I think is a kind of a very fun concept, which we'll need to do the next time we go. That's what I want to do. I wanted to do it a little bit while we were there, but the bottom bar was rented out for like a shower.
I think it was a baby shower.
Yeah. So in the main barn one that Rebecca was saying, that's where they had the music. That's the bar.
The main tap house.
Yeah, that's like the main tap room. So we went there and that's where we got our beers. But then in the basement of that is another bar. And then there's another building that's kind of seems like it's like an old horse stable or something.
Yeah, it looks like a stable.
There's apparently a bar in there as well. So they have 3 separate bars. And like I said, they try to have like different beers at each one of them, which is very cool. And that would mean they have a lot of different beers on tap because the main tap room we went to had a lot of different stuff on tap.
Yeah, we had 2 flights and we didn't even come. There was still a lot more we hadn't tried.
Yeah. So let's get to the next beer and then we'll talk about what we tried and the food because they do have food on premises.
They have they have their own like food truck that's there.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the food and we'll talk about what we drank. But first, this is an interesting one. This will be our first time trying a style named this.
Oh, go ahead.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Galactic Norseman is what this is called. Now, this is a Nordic Pale Ale, and it is 5.2% alcohol. So, all right, I'm going to crack this, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on what I know about Nordic IPAs and Pale Ales. So, we have not tried one of these. It is a relatively new style, from what I understand. I had a friend, guy who sent beers into the podcast before, Matt Harvey, asked me while we were gaming, what are you thinking about these Nordic IPAs? And I'm like, I actually haven't had them. So I asked him what they are, basically. And he said they're basically hoppy beers that have more of a bittering to them. And I was like, so it's like going back to like West Coast style IPAs? And he was like, no, it's a little bit different than that. It's more of like the bittering you get from like a beer like Carlin out of Europe. So he was like, I think it's mainly they use like Nordic style hops, which by the way,
this one is using Kvike yeast.
Yeah, so this one has Kvike yeast and it has Galaxy and Pearl hops, which I don't think those are Nordic hops. So I'm assuming something has to do with the Kvike yeast with this.
Yeah.
But I don't know, to make it Nordic. But it kind of looks like the blonde except darker orange and a slight haze to it.
Yeah, but it's still pretty clear.
Yes, agreed. Which makes me happy. Makes me very excited.
It smells good.
Ooh, yeah, it does. I definitely get the Galaxy coming through in that because there's a bit of a pineapple.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the primary smell I'm getting is that pineapple.
So there's this kind of like interesting funkiness that you get from Kvike yeast a lot of the time. And I definitely smell that in here. It's almost like it's a little bit dirty.
I'm getting like a little like dankness.
Yeah, I definitely get a dank to it. I get that pineapple. I get that Kvike dirtiness. There is like a particular Kvike smell. There really is.
I can't pick that out.
And it's just kind of odd in a style of beer you're used to having because like you're used to the same types of nose profiles in those beers. So when Kvike gets thrown into the mix, it really throws it off, and you're just like, I know what I'm smelling from the hops, but the yeast is like kind of odd. There's
definitely a citrus note, but the pineapple is kind of the winner in the nose.
I get a slight bubblegum on it too.
I never pick out bubblegum. I can never.
I like it. Like the pineapple with the bubblegum and a little bit of citrus thrown in there.
I mean, it smells good.
Yeah, it smells very nice. Hopefully it has a similar flavor to it.
It's okay. I like the blonde more.
It's very malty.
Very mild.
Very mild, very malty. But then again, like that's what you get with pale ales. Like pale ales are that way. So for me, that citrusiness on the nose in the mouth, in the flavor, is translating more to like slight marmalade flavor.
Definitely getting the bitterness. Like I took 2 sips and like my whole mouth is just like bitter.
Yeah, there's a very significant bitterness on the end.
And there's some it's drying.
Yeah, it's very drying because of the bitterness. There's also, with that marmalade, there's kind of like a dehydrated orange mixed in there as well. Slight bit of the pineapple kick to it because of those Galaxy hops.
Definitely getting more of the citrus on the taste and less of the pineapple.
So,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, the bitterness, especially when you take a larger gulp of it, is coming off a little bit medicinal, a little bit kind of like aspirin-y. Like if you have aspirin in your mouth too long before you actually swallow it down, like it kind of like coats your mouth with this bitter grossness. It's kind of like that.
It's okay. I don't know if I'll drink more of it, to be honest.
Yeah, if that's a good representation of the style, not really so much a fan.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know because we haven't had any others.
I just need I need more flavor to stand up to that bitterness.
Yeah. That's
kind of the issue. It just feels like it's like imbalanced is basically what that comes to. But let's talk about, why don't you talk about the food first while I bring up our Untapped and find the beers we had.
So they have, it's just a little trailer with food. And they have sandwiches, fries, which my one coworker said usually the fries sell out. So we were like, okay, we should try the fries and see how good they are. And then they have wood-fired pizzas. So we got a pizza and fries. The fries were very good, like hand-cut, like just not too thick, not too thin. Very good. They were like salted fries, and they were a little too salty for our taste, but that didn't stop us from eating them all.
Yeah.
And then we got a margarita pizza, which was very tasty.
Yeah, it was really good. I was focused on what was going on here, but did you tell them about how they have like their own structure built outside for the wood-fired pizza?
I didn't even see it, so.
Oh, that's right. Because it's like behind the trailer with the food. Very interesting. So like, obviously that trailer doesn't get moved.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like kind of stuck in there because of that structure for the pizza.
Are they attached?
I don't know. But like how close it is, I'm like, you're not getting that in and out of there.
Okay.
So yeah, but the food's good. So if you're going to go to Inverness, like legit.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what we got in our flights. The first one was On the Dark Side, which was a dry Irish stout.
And that was a nitro.
On nitro, yes. That was good.
It was very good.
Like creamy, the right amount of bitterness, drying enough. It was tasty, nice roastiness to it.
I really like that.
That was a solid beer. There's Always One, which was their hazy IPA. Yeah, it wasn't huge on that, but it wasn't bad for a hazy.
Yeah, it was okay.
It wasn't bad for a hazy. You just know we're not hazy people. Then there's Silk's Pale Ale, which I didn't really like.
That was on our second flight.
Yeah, that was on our second flight.
We did 2 flights. Our first flight, we always say like because we'll get one flight and then we'll go back and get a second, and our first flight's always better.
Oh yeah, well because the first flight is when you hit all the beers that sound the best to you.
Yeah.
And then you're just going like further down the roster with your next one.
Second tier.
Yeah, exactly. So then we also got their Silk's Pale Ale, which was...
You just said that.
I just said that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of that one. Then we got their Cherry Sour, which was
solid.
pretty good sour. You definitely got the cherry to it. Definitely not spontaneous fermentation. It was definitely a kettle soured. But the level of cherry was enough to bring complexity to it.
Yeah. They did have... On their tap list on their website had a different sour that had lactose in it, but that wasn't there when we got there.
Mm-hmm. Then we had their Cultivator, which was a bourbon barrel-aged Doppelbock. Now, you weren't a huge fan of this one.
It was okay.
I liked it a lot,
you really
actually.
liked it.
I thought it was really good. I think maybe the best beer we had for me, personally.
Really?
It was up there. It was tied with the other one we've talked about, which will be the last one I bring up. But that Cultivator was really good. There was so much complexity in flavor to that beer. It was really interesting. And I think I've had a bourbon barrel-aged Doppelbock one other time.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Which was Troganator by
Trogs.
Like, that's it. So, like, it's not something that's done a lot. And I don't know, breweries, maybe this should be a trend because it tasted really good when Trogs did it. It's tasted really good when Inverness did it. I'm just saying. Then we had their Quite Frankly, which was their lager.
Their Helles lager.
Yeah, that was their Helles lager. Which is our final beer,
teaser,
actually.
That's our last beer.
I really like that.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very crisp, very tasty. It'll be interesting to see on a second try if we're feeling exactly the same about it, but I really liked it then. We also had their Kristall Umlaut, which was a German Pilsner, which was also quite good. I was having a hard time actually figuring out if I liked the Helles or the German Pils most, but I think I like the Helles a bit more, but both are really good. And then Rebecca's favorite... And potentially my favorite. I was having a hard time with
Black IPA.
Yeah, it's called Black Stallion. First of all, how often do you see black IPAs getting done? Not very often. Second of all, when they taste awesome, it's like you found a treasure. You're just like, well, because they're rare in the first place. Rare. And then a lot of times, like when you get them, you're just like, oh, it's just okay. This was a very good black IPA. It had the right level of like malty roastiness, but a very nice citrusy blast of hops on top of it.
Very good. That was my favorite.
Really well balanced, really tasty.
First slate was the black IPA, the Helles lager, the German Pils, and
the Doppelbock. Yeah, that was awesome.
It was a very good first
That was a great one. The second one still had some good stuff, but was not as good. But let's go to our final beer, which is the Quite Frankly Helles lager, and it is 5.4%. So let's see how we feel about this out of the can. Now, I will say that there are no date codes on the cans, but the fact that we just bought them directly from the brewery itself makes it more fine. I would feel like they probably keep a tab on when they're getting older.
This is like the in-between colors of the three we've
had. Yeah, it's
a
yellow,
little orange, but a little yellow.
Yeah, but it looks pretty clear. Smell? Ooh, gosh. There's a lot of oranginess in there. Yeah. It's very, very orangey. It's like vibrant. I
want to smell the blonde on this side by side because there are some similar characteristics.
Yeah, it's like vibrant oranginess. There is a slight honeyness to it. There's a slight bit of that hay. It's very crisp and clean and refreshing smelling. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Like, this is how you want your lagers to smell. That smells excellent.
Oh, it's just like I remember.
Oh, yeah. Very easy to drink. Like, it's got good flavor, but it's not, like, super high level flavor.
Yeah. It's sweeter than I remember. There's a decent sweetness on that.
Yeah, it's skewing a little bit more on the malty side than I remember it when we had it on tap, but
it's good.
That may have to do with what else we were drinking versus what we're drinking right now. It's very good. Very crisp, very clean. Get that honey. Definitely get that orange. There's a significant orange in the flavor. Yeah. Decent bitterness on the end. So I want to say kudos to Inverness for not being afraid to go after the bitterness in beers.
And also for doing a lot of lighter styles.
Yeah. That is very welcome. And 12-ounce cans.
They had that blonde there, too. We just didn't have it on tap.
We didn't.
So they had a blonde, a Helles lager, and a Pilsner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was definitely some later stuff. Then they had a sour. Then they had a stout.
Well, they had 2 pale ales.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of lower ABV stuff. A lot. And I think that, like, their highest ABV beer was that Doppelbock, which I think was, like, 9. Yeah. Like, that's not crazy. So, So, obviously, we'd go back. We had a really good experience. We really enjoyed it. So,
even though it was cold.
Ranking the beers, I think, is easy for me.
Easy for me, too.
Okay. I have a feeling mine is the same as yours.
You think so?
Well, maybe not. All right, go ahead. You tell me what.
So my number 3 is the Galactic
Norseman. Nordic Pale Ale.
The Nordic Pale Ale. My number 2 is the Quite Frankly Helles Lager. And my number 1 is that Lot 54 Blonde.
I'm going to retry that because I honestly, yes, last place for me is definitely that Galactic Norseman.
It's really close.
Not a
between
fan.
the Blonde and the Helles.
Right. So I need to retry the Lot 54 because I was thinking the Quite Frankly Helles Lager.
I kind of thought you were going to do. I like the Blonde a little bit more.
Yeah, no. I'm definitely going number one, the Quite Frankly
Okay.
Helles Lager. But it is close.
It's close.
No, it's definitely
Yeah.
close. They're both quite good.
Okay, so we have a little difference.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So that was another Excursion episode. We will be doing more, especially because now it's spring. So spring and summer, we'll be able to go to more breweries, sit outside, hang out. So yeah, and the other thing is we just have so many breweries in Maryland we haven't been to that we need to hit up. And we can cross over into Pennsylvania, maybe here and there, go down to like Virginia.
Yeah.
We'll see. But anyway, this has been fun. People send us emails, brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com, if you just want to reach out and say hello, anything like that. I do have an email from Steve Pfeiffer, a listener. We'll cover that on another episode because since this is about Inverness, I didn't really want to cover that on this, but it's not a time-sensitive thing, so
Okay.
I'll just bring that up on maybe the next episode. So Steve, no, we will read that email because he sent me basically his idea for a recipe for making your own type of coffee beer, which was cool. So look forward to that. Rate us and review us on whatever podcatcher you use. iTunes helps the most. Also, word of mouth. We love it when you tell people about the podcast and encourage people to listen to it because spreading the word is how things like this grow. What else? Back episodes, brutalbattle.com or archive.org, and just search Brutal Battle. You can get all those. We've been doing this for like 10 years, which is crazy. And then I'm on Untapped as all one word, Carlton Malibu, spelled as it sounds. Just that's the easiest way, so you can be my Untapped friend.
And I am Rebecca C. on Untapped.
And then
Instagram is Brutal Battle Podcast.
Yep, and that's about it. Thanks, everyone, for continually coming and checking out the podcast. We really do appreciate it. And until next time,
Keep it brutal.